educated.
I hate being educated.
So do I. It puts one almost on the level of the commercial classes, doesn't it? But dear Gertrude Chiltern is always telling me that I should try to find some serious purpose in life. So I've come here to try to find one.
Well, I don't see anybody in here tonight whom one could possibly call a serious purpose. The man who took me to dinner talked about his wife the whole time.
How very trivial of him.
Terribly trivial. What did your men talk about?
About myself.
Were you interested?
Not in the smallest degree.
What martyrs we are, dear Margaret.
And how well it becomes us, Olivia.
Lord Caversham.
Good evening, Lady Chiltern. Has my good-for-nothing son been here?
I don't think Lord Goring has arrived yet.
Why do you call Lord Goring good for nothing?
Well, because he leads such an idle life.
How can you say such a thing? When he rides the road at 10 o'clock in the morning, goes to the opera 3 times a week, changes his clothes at least 5 times a day, and dines out every night of the season. You wouldn't call that leading an idle life, would you?
Now, you're a charming young lady, aren't you?
Thank you so much, Lord Caversham. Do come to us more often. You know we are always at home on Wednesdays, and you look so well nowadays.
No, I never go out anymore. Sick of London society. That you shouldn't mind being introduced to my own tailor, mind you. Now, he always votes on the right side, but I object strongly to being sent down to dinner with my wife's milliner. I never could stand Lady Caversham's quality.
Well, I adore London society. I think it is immensely improved. It is now entirely composed of beautiful idiots and brilliant lunatics. Just as society should be.
Yes, but which is Goring? A beautiful idiot or the other thing?
I'm surprised for the moment to put Lord Goring in a class quite by himself. He's developing charmingly.
Into what?
I hope to let you know very soon, Lord Caversham.
Please,
Lady Margaret, Mrs. Chevrolet.
My dear Gertrude. So kind of you to let me bring my friend, Mrs. Sheevey. Two such charming women should know each other.
I think Mrs. Schiller and I have met before. I didn't know she had married a second time.
Oh, but people marry as often as they can nowadays, don't they? It is most fashionable. Oh, is that Lord Caversham? Oh, hello, dear sir. How's your wife? Still weak, I suppose. Just like her poor mother.
But have we really met before, Lady Chiltern? I can't remember where. I've been out of England for so long.
We were at school together, Mrs. Schiller.
Indeed. I have forgotten all about my school days. I have a vague impression they were detestable.
I'm not surprised.
Do you know, I'm quite looking forward to meeting your clever husband, Lady Chiltern. Since he has been ever far in office, he has been so much talked of in Vienna. They actually succeeded in spelling his name right in the newspaper, and that in itself is a fame on the continent.
I hardly think there will be much in common between you and my husband, Mrs. Schiller.
Ah, chère madame! Quelle surprise! I have not seen you since Berlin, madame.
Not since Berlin, Vicomte. 5 years ago.
5 years ago, and you are younger, and more beautiful than ever. How do you manage it?
By making it a rule to only talk to perfectly charming people like yourself.
Ah, you flatter me. You batter me, as it is here.
Do that say that here? How dressed towards them?
Oui, oui, oui. They have a wonderful language. You should be more widely known, madame. Shall we go?
Evening, Lady Margaret. I hope you brought Sir John with you.
Oh, but I brought a much more charming person than Sir John. Sir John, ever since he's taken seriously to politics, has become quite unbearable. Really, now that the House of Commons is trying to produce results, it does a great deal of harm, doesn't it?
I certainly hope not. At any rate, we do our best to waste the public time, don't we? But do tell me, who is this charming person you were kind enough to bring to us?
Her name is Mrs. Sheevey. One of the daughters, sorry, Sheevey's, I suppose, but I really don't know. Families are so mixed nowadays. Indeed, as a rule, everybody turns out to be somebody else.
Mrs. Sheevey, I seem to know the name.
She has just arrived from Vienna.
Ah, yes, I believe I know whom you mean.
She knows everyone there. She has so many pleasant scandals about all of her friends. I should really visit Vienna next winter. I hope there's a good chef at the embassy.
If there isn't, the ambassador will certainly have to be recalled. Pray point out Mrs. Sheely to me. I should like to see her.
Of course. My dear, Sir Robert is dying to know you.
Everyone is dying to know the brilliant Mrs. Sheely. Our attachés at Vienna write to us about nothing else.
Thank you, Sir Robert. An acquaintance that begins with a compliment is sure to develop into a real friendship. It starts in the right manner, and I find that I know Lady Chiltern already.
Really?
Yes, she has just reminded me that we were at school together. I remember it perfectly now. She always got the Good Conduct Prize. I have a distinct recollection of Lady Chiltern always getting the Good Conduct Prize.
And what prizes did you get, Mrs. Sheely?
Oh, my prizes came a little later on in life. I don't think any of them were for good conduct. I forget.
I'm sure they were for something charming.
I don't know that women are always rewarded for being charming. I think they're usually punished for it. Certainly, more women grow old nowadays through the faithfulness of their admirers than through anything else. At least that is the only way I can account for the terribly haggard look of most of your pretty women in London.
What an appalling philosophy that sounds. To attempt to classify you, Mrs. Sheely, would be an impertinence. But do tell me, at heart, are you an optimist or a pessimist? Those seem to be the only two fashionable religions left to us nowadays.
Oh, neither. Optimism begins in a broad grin, and pessimism met up with blue spectacles. Besides, they're both merely poses.
You prefer to be natural.
Sometimes, but it is such a very difficult pose to keep up.
What were those modern psychological novelists of whom we hear so much say to such a theory as that?
All the strength of women comes from the fact that psychology cannot explain us and can be analyzed. Women merely adore it.
You think science cannot grapple with the problem of women?
Science can never grapple with the rational. That is why it has no future before it in this world.
And women represent the irrational.
Well-dressed women do.
I fear I can hardly agree with you there. But do sit down. And now tell me, what makes you leave your brilliant Vienna for our gloomy London? Or perhaps the question is indiscreet.
Our questions are never indiscreet. Answers sometimes are.
Well, at any rate, may I know if it's politics or pleasure?
Oh, politics are my only pleasure. You see, nowadays, it is not fashionable to flirt till one is 40 or to be romantic till one is 45. So we poor women who are under 30, or say we are, have nothing open to us except politics or philanthropy. And philanthropy seems to me to have become simply the refuge of people who wish to know their fellow creatures. I prefer politics. I think they are more becoming.
A political life is a noble career.
Sometimes. And sometimes it is a clever game, Sir Robert. And sometimes it is a great nuisance.
In which do you find it?
Why? A combination of all three.
Allow me.
Thanks.
But you still haven't told me what makes you honor London so suddenly. Our season is almost over.
Oh, I don't care about the London season. It is too matrimonial. People are either hunting for husbands or hiding from them. I wanted to meet you. It is quite true. You know what a woman's curiosity is? Almost as great as man's. I wanted immensely to meet you and to ask you to do something for me.
I hope it is not a little thing, Mrs. Sheely. I find that little things are so very difficult to do.
No, I don't think it is quite a little thing.
Oh, I am so glad. Do tell me what it is.
Later on. And now, may I walk through your beautiful house? I heard your pictures are charming. Poor Baron Arnheim. You remember the Baron? He used to tell me of some wonderful corals.
Did you know Baron Arnheim well?
Intimately, did you?
At one time.
One man, wasn't he?
He was very remarkable in many ways.
I often think it's such a pity he never wrote his memoirs. It would have been most interesting.
Yes, he knew men in cities well, like the old Greek.
Without the dreadful disadvantage of having Penelope waiting at home for him.
Lord Goring.
Good evening, dear Arthur. Mrs. Shively, allow me to introduce you to the idlest man in London, Lord Goring.
I have met Lord Goring before.
I did not think you would remember me, Mrs. Shively.
My memory is under admirable control. Are you still a bachelor?
I believe so.
How very romantic.
Oh, I'm not so romantic. I'm not old enough. I leave romance to my seniors.
Lord Goring is the result of Boodle's club, Mrs. Shively.
Oh, he reflects every credit on the institution.
May I ask, are you staying in London long?
Oh, that depends partly on the weather, partly on the cooking, and partly on the rubbers.
I hope you're not going to plunge us into a European war.
There is no danger at present.
You're very late. Have you missed me?
Awfully.
Then I'm sorry I did not stay away longer. I like being missed.
How terribly selfish of you.
I am very selfish.
You're always telling me of your bad qualities, Lord Goring.
Oh, I've only told you half of them as yet, Miss Mabel.
Yeah, that's very bad.
Quite dreadful. When I think of them at night, I go to sleep at once.
Well, I delight in your bad qualities. I wouldn't have you part with one of them.
Oh, how very nice of you. But then, you're always nice. By the way, I want to ask you a question, Miss Mabel. Who brought Mrs. Shively here? The woman in Bordeaux who has just gone out of the room with your brother.
Oh, I think Lady Margaret brought her. Why do you ask?
I haven't seen her for years, that is all.
What an absurd reason.
All reasons are absurd.
What sort of woman is she?
Oh, a genius in the daytime and a beauty at night.
I dislike her already.
Ah, that shows your admirable good taste.
Ah, the English young lady is a dragon of good taste, is she not?
So the newspapers are always telling us.
Oui, oui, by the way, I read all of the English newspapers. I find them amusing.
Then, my dear Namjak, you must certainly read between the lines.
Oui, oui, I should like to, but my professor objects. May I have the pleasure of escorting you to the music room, mademoiselle?
Certainly, Viscount.
Merci.
Aren't you coming to the music room?
No, there's a music going on, Miss Mabel.
The music is German. You wouldn't understand it.
Well, sir, what are you doing here? Wasting your life as usual, I suppose. You should be in bed, sir. I heard of you the other night at Lady Rufford's dancing until 4 o'clock in the morning.
Only a quarter to 4, Father.
You know, I can't make out how you stand London society. The whole thing's gone to the dogs, a lot of damn nobody's talking about nothing.
Oh, I love talking about nothing, Father. It is the only thing I know anything about.
Well, you seem to me to be living entirely for pleasure.
Well, what else is there to live for, Father? Nothing, it's just like happiness.
Oh, well, you are heartless, sir. Very heartless.
I hope not, Father. What do you think, Lady Basildon?
Well, are you here? I had no idea I ever came to political parties.
Oh, I adore political parties. They are the only place left to us where people, well, don't talk politics.
I delight in talking politics. I talk them all day long, but I can't bear listening to them. I don't know how these unfortunate men stand this long debates.
By never listening.
Really?
Of course. You see, it is a very dangerous thing to listen. If one listens, one may be convinced. And a man who allows himself to be convinced by an argument is a thoroughly unreasonable person.
There accounts for so much in men that I have never understood, and so much in women that their husbands never appreciated them.
Our husbands never appreciate anything in us. We have to go to others for that.
Always the others, have we not?
And those are the views of the two ladies who are known to have the most admirable husbands in London.
That is exactly what we can't stand. My Reginald is quite hopelessly faultless. He is really unendurably so at times. There is not the smallest element of excitement in knowing him.
Oh, how terrible, really. The thing should be more widely known.
Basildon is quite as bad. He is as domestic if he was a bachelor.
My poor Olivia, we have married perfect husbands and we are well punished for it.
I should have thought it was the husbands who were punished.
Oh dear, no! They are as happy as possible. And as for trusting us, it is tragic how much they trust us.
Perfectly tragic.
Or comic, Lady Basildon.
Certainly not comic, Lord Goring. How unkind of you to suggest such a thing.
I'm afraid Lord Goring is in the camp of the enemy as usual. I saw him speaking to that Mrs. Shively when he came in.
Handsome woman, Mrs. Shively.
Please, don't praise other women in our prisons. You might wait for us to do that.
I did wait.
Well, we are not going to praise her. I hear she went to the opera on Monday night and told Tommy Rufford at supper that as far as she could tell,
London society was entirely made up of dowdies and dandies.
Well, she's quite right too. The men are all dowdies and the women are all dandies, aren't they?
Oh, is that really what you think Mrs. Shebley meant?
Of course, and a very sensible remark for Mrs. Shebley to make too.
Oh, why are you talking about Mrs. Shebley? Everyone is talking about Mrs. Shebley. Lord Goring said, what was it you said, Lord Goring, about Mrs. Shebley? Oh yes, I remember. That she was a genius in the daytime and a beauty at night.
What a horrid combination! So very unnatural.
I like looking at geniuses and listening to beautiful people.
Oh, that is morbid of you, Mrs. Marshman.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. Marchmont and I have been married for 7 years, and he's never once told me that I was morbid. Men are so painfully unobservant.
I have always said that you were the most morbid person in whole London.
But you're all sympathetic, Olivia.
Is it morbid to have a desire for food? I have a great desire for food. Lord Goring, will you give me some supper?
With pleasure, Miss Mabel.
How horrid you have been! You've never spoken to me the whole evening.
How could I? But we were the child diplomatist.
Well, you might have followed us. Pursuit would have only been polite. I don't think I like you at all this evening.
I like you immensely.
Well, I wish you'd shown it in a more marked way.
Olivia, I have a curious feeling of absolute faintness. I think I should like some supper very much. I know I should like some supper.
I'm positively dying for supper.
Men are so horribly selfish. They never think of these things.
Men are grossly material, grossly material.
Comtesse, excusez-moi, may I take you down for salsa père?
I never take supper, thank you, Vicomte.
Oui, Comtesse.
But I will come down with you, with pleasure.
Merci. You see, I'm so fond of eating. I'm so English, you know, my taste is...
You look quite English, Vicomte, quite English.
Good evening. Would you like some supper, Mrs. Marchmont?
No thank you, Mr. Montfort. I never touch supper. But I will sit beside you and watch you.
Well, I don't know if I like the idea of being watched while I eat.
Then I will watch someone else then.
Well, I don't know if I like the idea of that either.
Pray, Mr. Montfort, do not make these painful scenes of jealousy in public.
And are you visiting any of our country houses while you're staying in England?
Oh no, I can't stand your English house parties. In England, people actually try to be brilliant at breakfast. How dreadful of them. Only dull people are brilliant at breakfast. And then the family skeleton is always reading family prayers.
My stay in England really depends on you, Sir Robert.
Seriously?
Yes, quite seriously. I wanted to talk to you about this great political and financial scheme, about this Argentine Canal Company, in fact.
What a tedious practical subject for you to talk about, Mrs. Shebley.
Oh, I like tedious practical subjects. What I don't like are tedious practical people. There's a wide difference. Besides, if you are interested in international canal schemes, you were Lord Ridley's secretary, weren't you, when the government bought the Suez Canal shares?
Yes, but the Suez Canal was a very great and splendid undertaking. It gave us our direct route to India. It had imperial value. It was necessary that we had control. This Argentine scheme is a commonplace stock exchange swindle.
A speculation, Sir Robert. A brilliant, daring speculation.
Believe me, Mrs. Shebley, it is a swindle. Let us call things by their proper names. It makes matters simpler. We have all the information about this scheme at the Foreign Office. As a matter of fact, I have arranged for a special commission to inquire into the matter privately, and they report that the works are hardly begun, and as for the money already subscribed, nobody seems to know what has become of it. The whole thing is a second Panama, and not with a quarter of a chance of success that miserable affair ever had. I hope you haven't invested in it, Mrs. Shebley. I am sure you are far too clever to have done that.
I have invested very largely in it.
Who could have possibly advised you to do such a foolish thing?
Your old friend and mine,
Who?
Baron Arnheim.
Ah, yes. I do remember hearing at the time of his death about him being mixed up in with the whole affair.
It was his last romance. His last but one, to do him justice.
But you have not seen my Corrots yet. They are in the music room. The Corrots seem to go well with music. May I show them to you?
I'm not in the mood tonight for silver twilights and rose-pink dawns. I want to talk business.
I fear I don't have any advice to give you, Mrs. Shealy. Apart from maybe interesting yourself in something less dangerous, the success of the canal relies, obviously, on the attitude of England. And I'm going to lay the Commissioner's report before the House tomorrow night.
And you must not do. In your own interest, Sir Robert, say nothing of mine. You must not do that.
In my own interest? My dear Mrs. Shealy, what do you mean?
Sir Robert, I will be quite frank with you. I want you to withdraw the report that you had intended to lay before the House on the ground that you have reasons to believe that the Commissioners has been prejudiced or misinformed or something. But I want you to say a few words to the effect that the government is going to reconsider the purchase and the canal, if completed, will be of great international value. You know the sort of things ministers say in cases of this kind. A few ordinary platitudes will do. In modern world, nothing produces such as an effect as a good platitude. It makes the whole world kin. Will you do that for me?
Mrs. Shealy, you cannot be serious in making me such a proposition.
But I am.
Pray allow me to believe that you are not.
I am, and if you do what I ask you, I will pay you. Very handsomely.
Pay?
Yes.
I'm afraid I don't quite understand what you mean.
How very disappointing. And I have come all the way from Vienna in order that you should thoroughly understand me.
I fear I don't.
Sir Robert, you're the man of the world, and you've got your price, I suppose. Everybody has nowadays. The drawback is that most people are so dreadfully expensive. I know I am. I hope you will be more reasonable in your terms.
Mrs. Shealy, I trust you don't mind if I call your carriage for you. You've spent so much time abroad, you seem to be unable to realize that you are talking to an English gentleman.
I realize that I'm talking to a man who laid the foundation of his fortune and career by selling a stock exchange speculator. A cabinet secret.
Well, what do you mean?
I mean that I know the real origin of your wealth and fortune, and I've got your letter too.
What letter?
The letter you wrote to Baron Arnheim when you were Lord Redley's secretary, telling the Baron to buy the Suez Canal shares. The letter written 3 days before the government announced its own purchase.
It is not true.
You thought the letter had been destroyed. How foolish of you. It is in my possession.
The affair to which you allude was merely a speculation. The House hasn't passed a bill at the time. It may have been rejected.
It was a swindle, Sir Robert. Let us call things by their proper names. Makes everything simpler. And now, I'm going to sell you that letter. And the price I ask for is your public support in the Argentine Canal scheme. You made your fortune out of one canal. Now you must help me and my friends to make our fortunes out of another.
It is infamous what you propose. Infamous.
Oh no. It's the game of the life, Sir Robert, as we all have to play.
I cannot do what you ask me.
You have to. If you don't...
What then?
My dear Sir Robert, but then... You're ruined. That is all. Remember to what a point your Puritanism in England has brought you. In old days, nobody pretended to be a bit better than his neighbours. In fact, to be a bit better than one's neighbours was considered excessively vulgar and middle class. And nowadays, with our modern mania for morality, everyone has to pose as a paragon of purity, incorruptibility, and all the other 7 deadly virtues, and what is the result? You all go over like ninepins, one after the other. Not a year passes in England without somebody disappearing. Scandals used to lend charm, or at least interest to a man. And now they crush him. And yours is a very nasty scandal. If it were known that as a young man, secretary to a great and important minister, you saw the cabinet secret for a large sum of money, and that that was the origin of your wealth and career, you would be hounded out of public life, and you would disappear completely. And after all, Sir Robert, why should you sacrifice your entire future rather than deal diplomatically with your enemy? For the moment, I'm your enemy. Why admit that? But it is your splendid position that makes you so vulnerable. Can't defend it, and I'm in attack. Of course, I have not talked morality to you. You must admit in fairness that I have spared you that. Years ago, you did a clever, unscrupulous thing. It turned out great success. Now, you have got to pay for it. Sooner or later, we all have to pay for what we do. You have to pay now. I leave you tonight. You've got to promise me to suppress your report and speak in the House in favor of the scheme.
What you ask is impossible.
You must make it possible. You're going to make it possible, Sir Robert. You know what your English newspapers are like. Suppose when I leave this house and I drive down to some newspaper office and give them the scandal and the proofs of it. Think of their loathsome joy, the delight they would have in dragging you down in mud and mire they would plunge you in. Think of the hypocrite with his greasy smile, patting his leading article and arranging the foulness of a public placard.
Stop! You want me to withdraw the report and to make a speech to the effect that I believe that there are possibilities in the scheme?
Those are my terms.
I will give you any sum of money you want.
Even you are not rich enough, Sir Robert, to buy back your past. No man is.
I will not do what you ask me. I will not.
You have to. If you don't...
No, wait a moment. What did you propose? You said that you would give me back my letter, didn't you?
Yeah, that is agreed. I will be in the ladies' gallery tomorrow at 11:30. If by then, and you have had heaps of opportunities, you made an announcement at the house in terms I wish, I shall hand you back your letter with the prettiest things and the best, or at any rate, the most suitable compliment I can think of. I intend to play quite fairly with you. One should always play fairly when one has the winning cards. Baron taught me that, amongst other things.
Don't go. I consent. The report will be withdrawn. I shall arrange for a question to be put to me on the subject.
Thank you, Sir Robert. I knew we should come to an amicable agreement. I understood your nature from the first. I analyzed you, though you did not adore me. And now you can get my carriage for me, Sir Robert. I hear the people coming up from Sabra. Englishmen always get so romantic after a meal. That bores me dreadfully.
My dear, I hope you have enjoyed yourself. Sir Robert is very entertaining, is he not?
Most entertaining. I've enjoyed my talk with him immensely.
Oh, he has had the most interesting and brilliant career, and he has married the most admirable wife. Lady Gertrude Children is a woman of the very highest principles. I'm too old myself now to be setting an example, but I do admire people who do. Oh, and Gertrude has such an ennobling effect on life, though her dinner parties are rather dull sometimes, don't you think? Well, one can have everything. Oh, shall I call for you tomorrow?
Thanks.
Oh, we might drive at the park at 5. Everything is so fresh in the park now.
Except the people.
Oh, my dear, perhaps the people are a bit jaded. You know, I've noticed that as the season progresses, it causes a sort of softening of the brain. Oh, it is most unbecoming. Nothing is worse than high intellectual pressure. It makes the noses of the young girls so particularly large, and nothing is as difficult to marry as a large nose. Apparently, men don't like them. Goodbye, dear. Good night, dear Gertrude.
What a charming house you have, lady children. I have spent a delightful evening. I hope wanted to interest him in this great Argentine canal scheme, of which I dare to say you have heard, and I found him most susceptible. Susceptible to reason, I mean. Rare thing in a man. I converted him in 10 minutes. He's going to make this speech in the house tomorrow night. You must go to Ladies' Gallery and hear him. It will be a great occasion.
There must be some mistake. That scheme could never have my husband's support.
Oh, I assure you it is all settled.
Ah.
I don't regret my tedious Vienna journey now. The whole thing has been great success. Of course, for the next 24 hours, the whole thing is a dead secret.
A secret? Between whom?
Between your husband and myself.
Your carriage is here, Mrs. Shealy.
Good evening, lady children. Good night, Lord Goring. I'm at Claridge's. Don't you think you might leave a card?
If you wish, Mrs. Shealy.
Don't be so solemn about it. Or shall I be obliged to leave a card on you? In England, that would be hardly considered unclean. Abroad, we are more civilized. Will you see me down, Sir Robert? Now, when we both have the same interest at heart, we shall be great friends, I hope.
What a horrid woman.
We should go to bed, Miss Mabel.
Lord Goring!
My father told me to go to bed an hour ago. I don't see why I shouldn't give you the same advice. I always pass some good advice. It is the only thing to do with it. It's never of any use to oneself.
Lord Goring, you are always ordering me out of the room. I think it is most courageous of you, especially as I'm not going to bed for hours. You can come and sit down if you like, and talk about anything in the world, except the Royal Academy, Mrs. Shealy, or novels in a Scotch dialect. They are not improving subjects. What's this? Someone has dropped a diamond brooch. It's quite beautiful, isn't it? I wish it were mine, but the nursery won't let me wear anything but pearls, and I'm thoroughly sick of pearls. They make one look so plain, so good, and so intellectual. I wonder who the brooch belongs to.
I wonder who dropped it.
It's a beautiful brooch.
It's a handsome bracelet.
It's not a bracelet, it's a brooch.
Can't be used as a bracelet.
What are you doing?
Miss Mabel, I'm going to make you a rather strange request.
Oh, pray do. I've been waiting for it the whole evening.
Don't mention to anybody that I have taken charge of this brooch. Should anyone write and claim it, let me know at once.
That is a strange request.
Well, you see, I gave this brooch to somebody once, years ago.
You did?
Yes.
Well, in that case, I will certainly bid you good night. Good night, Gertrude.
Good night, dear. Oh, you saw whom Lady Markby brought here tonight.
Yes, it was an unpleasant surprise. What did she come here for?
Apparently, to try and lure Robert to uphold some fraudulent scheme in which she's interested. The Argentine canal, in fact.
She has mistaken her man, hasn't she?
She's incapable of understanding an upright nature like my husband.
Yes, I should fancy she came to grief if she tried to get Robert into her toils. It is astounding what mistakes clever women make.
I don't call women of that kind clever. I call them stupid.
Same thing often. Good night, lady children.
Good night.
You're not going, Arthur. Do stop a little.
Afraid I can't, thanks. I have promised to looking at the Hartfords. I believe they've got a more Hungarian band that plays more Hungarian music. See you soon. Goodbye.
How beautiful you look tonight, Gertrude.
Robert, it is not true, is it? You're not going to lend your support to this Argentine speculation. You couldn't.
Whoever told you I intended to do so?
That woman has just gone out, Mrs. Shealy, as she calls herself now. She seemed to tell me with it, Robert. I know that woman. You don't. We were at school together. She was untruthful, dishonest, an evil influence on everyone whose chance or friendship she could win. I hated. I despised her. She stole things. She was a thief. She was sent away for being a thief. Why do you let her influence you?
Gertrude, what you're saying may be true, but it happened many years ago. It is best forgotten. Mrs. Shealy may have changed since then. No one should be judged entirely based on their past.
One's past is what one is. It is the only way by which people should be judged.
That is a hard saying,
It's a true
Gertrude.
saying, Robert. And what did she mean by boasting? That she had got you to lend your support, your name, to something I have heard you describe as the most fraudulent scheme that has ever been in political life.
I have been mistaken in the view I took. We all make mistakes.
But you told me yesterday that you have received a report from the commission, and it entirely condemned the whole thing.
I have reasons to believe that the commissioners were prejudiced, or at the very least misinformed. Besides, Gertrude, public and private life are different things. They have different laws and move on different lines.
They should both represent mine at his hiding. I see no difference between them.
In the present case, as a matter of practical politics, I have simply changed my mind. That is all.
All.
Yes.
Ah, Robert, it is horrible that I have to ask you such a question. Robert, are you telling me the whole truth?
Why do you ask me such a question?
Why do you not answer it?
Gertrude, truth is a very complex thing, and politics is a very complex business. There are wheels within wheels. One may have certain obligations to people that one must pay. Sooner or later, one may have to compromise. Everyone does.
Compromise. Robert, why do you talk so differently from the way I have always heard you talk? Why are you changed?
I'm not changed, but circumstances alter things.
Oh, circumstances should never alter principles.
What if I told you
What?
that it was necessary, vitally necessary?
It can never be necessary to do what is not honorable. Or if it be necessary, then what is it that I have done? But it's not, Robert. Tell me it's not. Why should it be? What gain would you get? Money? They have no need of that. And money that comes from a tainted source is a degradation. Power? But power is nothing in itself. This power to do good, that's fine. That and that only. So what is it then, Robert? Tell me why you're going to do this honorable thing.
Gertrude, you have no right to use that word. As I've already said, it was simply a matter of rational compromise, nothing else.
Robert, that is all very well for other men, for men who treat life simply as a sordid speculation. But not for you, Robert. Not for you. All your life you have stood apart from others. I have never let the word sold you to the word. As to myself, I have been an ideal, always. Albeit that ideal still, that great inheritance, throw not away the tower of ivory, do not destroy. Robert, man can love what is beneath them. Things are worthy, esteemed, dishonored. We women worship one love. And when we lose our worship, we lose everything. Oh, Robert, please don't kill my love for you. Don't kill that.
Gertrude.
I know that there are men with horrible secrets in their life. Men who have done some shameful thing, and in some critical moment they have to pay for it by doing some other act of shame. Oh, Robert, please don't tell me you are such as they are. Is there in your life any secret, dishonor, or disgrace? Tell me. Tell me at once.
That what?
That our lives may drift apart.
Drift apart?
That they may be entirely separated to be better for us both.
Gertrude, there is nothing in my past life that you may not know.
I was sure of it, Robert. I was sure of it. But why did you say those dreadful things? Things so unlike your real self. Don't let us ever talk about this subject again. You will I want you to Mrs. Shively and tell her that you cannot support this scandalous scheme of hers. If you have given her any promise, you must take it back. That's all.
Must I write and tell her all that?
Surely.
Maybe I should go see her personally. It would be better.
Oh, Robert, You must never see her again. She's not a woman you should ever speak to. She's not worthy to talk to a man like you. No, you must write now, this moment, and let your letter show her that your decision is quite irrevocable.
Right this moment.
Surely.
But it is so late, it is close on 12.
It makes no matter. She must know at once that she has been mistaken in you. And you're not the kind of man to do anything base or underhand or dishonorable. Right here, Robert. Write that you decline to support this scandalous scheme of hers, as you hold it to be a dishonest scheme. Write the word dishonest. She knows what the word means. Yes, that will do, not the envelope. Have this letter sent at once to Claridge's. There is no answer. Robert, love gives one an instinct to feel. I think tonight that I have saved you from something that might have been a danger to you, from something that might have made men honor you less than they do. I don't think you realize sufficiently, Robert, that we have brought into the political life of our time a nobler atmosphere, a finer attitude towards life, a freer air of purer aims and higher ideals. And I know it. For that I love you, Robert.
Oh, love me always, Gertrude, love me always.
I will always love you, Robert, because you will always be worth your love. Eunice must love you when you see it.
Put out the lights, Mason. Put out the lights.
My dear Robert, it's a very awkward business, very awkward indeed. Should have told you about the whole thing. Secrets from other people's wives are a necessary luxury in modern life. So at least I'm told at a club by people who are bold enough to know better. But no man should have a secret from his own wife. She invariably finds it out. Women have a wonderful instinct about little things. They can discover everything except the obvious.
Arthur, I couldn't have told my wife. When could I have told her? Last night. Oh, it would have made for a lifelong separation between us. I would have lost the love of the one woman I worship, the one woman who has ever stirred love within me. No, last night would have been quite impossible. She would turn away from me in horror. In horror and in contempt.
Is Lady Chiltern as perfect as all that?
Yes, my wife is as perfect as all that.
What a pity. I beg your pardon, my dear fellow, I didn't quite mean that. But if what you tell me is true, I should like to have a serious conversation about life with Lady Chiltern.
It would be quite useless.
May I try?
Yes, but nothing you can say could possibly make her alter her views.
Well, at the worst, it would simply be a psychological experiment.
All such experiments are terribly dangerous.
Everything is dangerous, my dear fellow. If it wasn't so, life wouldn't be worth living. Well, I'm about to say that I think you should have told her years ago.
When? When we were engaged? Do you really think she would have married me had she known that the origin of my career is such as it is, that the basis of my fortune is such as it is, and that I have done an act that I suppose most men would call low and dishonest?
Yeah, most men would call it ugly names, there's no doubt of that.
Men who every day commit acts of the worst kind. Men who every one of them have worse secrets in their own lives.
Yeah, that is the reason why they're so pleased to find out other people's secrets. It distracts public attention from their own.
And after all, who have I wronged with what I've done? No one.
Except yourself, Robert.
Arthur, do you think it fair that something I've done nearly 18 years ago, is being brought up against me now. I had the double misfortune of being both well-born and poor, two unforgivable things nowadays. Do you think it fair that a sin of one's youth, something one did in their boyhood almost, would wreck a life like mine, would destroy everything I have worked for, everything I've built up? Is it fair, Arthur?
Life is never fair, Robert. And perhaps it is a good thing for most of us that it is not.
What this century worships is wealth. The god of this century is wealth. To succeed, one must have wealth. At all costs, one must have wealth.
You underrate yourself, Robert. Believe me, without wealth you could have succeeded just as well.
Perhaps when I was old, and I had lost my passion for power, or couldn't use it when I was disappointed, worn out, tired. No, I wanted my success when I was young. Youth is the time for success. I couldn't wait.
You certainly have had your success while you're still young. I'm the Secretary for Foreign Affairs at the age of 40. That's good enough for anyone, I should think.
And what if it is all taken away from me now? What if I lose it over a horrendous scandal? What if I'm hounded out of public life?
Robert, how could you have sold yourself for money?
I didn't sell myself for money. I bought success at a great price.
Yes, you certainly paid a great price for it. But what first made you think of doing such a thing?
Baron Arnheim.
Damn scoundrel!
No! He was a man of the most subtle and refined intellect. A man of culture, distinction, charm. One of the most intellectual men I've ever met.
I prefer a gentlemanly fool any day. There's more to be said about stupidity than people imagine. Personally, I have a great admiration for stupidity. It's a sort of fellow feeling, I suppose. How did you do it? Tell me the whole thing.
One night, after dinner at Lord Radley's, the Baron started talking to us about success in modern life, as if it were a thing that one could reduce to an absolutely definite science. With this wonderfully fascinating, quiet voice of his, he expounded to us the most terrible of all philosophies, the philosophy of power. He preached to us the most marvelous of all gospels, the gospel of gold. I think he noticed the effect it had produced on me, for a few days later he wrote and asked me to come see him. He was living at the house at Parks Lane, the house Lord Wookham has now. I remember so well how, with a strange smile on his pale, curved lips, he led me through his picture galleries, showed me his tapestries, his enamels, his jewels, his carved ivories, made me wonder at the strange loveliness of the luxury in which he lived. And he then told me that luxury is nothing but a background, a painted scene in a play, and that power over other men, power over the world, is the one thing worth living for, the one supreme joy worth having, the one pleasure one never tired of, and that in this century, only the rich possess it.
Thoroughly shallow creek.
I didn't think so then. I don't think so now. Wealth has given me enormous power. You were never poor and never known ambition. You couldn't possibly understand what a great chance the Barons gave me. Such a chance as few men get.
Fortunately for them, if one is to judge by results. But tell me definitely, how did the Baron persuade you to do what he did?
When I was going away, the Baron said that if I ever had any private information of real value that I could give him, he would make me a very rich man. About 6 weeks later, certain private documents passed through my hands.
State documents.
Yes.
I had no idea that you, of all men in the world, could have been so weak, Robert, as to yield to such a temptation as Baron Arnheim held up to you.
Weak? Oh, I am sick of hearing that phrase, sick of using it about others. Weak! Do you really think it is weakness that yields to temptation? No, I am telling you there are terrible, horrible temptations that it takes strength and courage to yield to. To risk all on one throw, to stake everything on one moment, whether the stake be power or pleasure, I don't care. There is no weakness in that. There is a terrible courage. I had that courage. The same afternoon, I sat down and wrote the Baron the letter this woman now holds. He made $750,000 over that transaction.
And you?
I received from the Baron £110,000.
You were worth more, Robert.
No, that money gave me exactly what I wanted, power over others. I went into the house immediately. The Baron advised me in financial matters from time to time. Before 5 years, I have nearly trebled my fortune. Nearly trebled my fortune. In all things considering money, all matters connected with money, I have had a luck so extraordinary that it made me almost afraid. I remember reading in some strange book that when the gods wish to punish us, they answer our prayers.
But tell me, Robert, did you ever suffer any regret for what you had done?
No. I thought I fought the century with its weapons and that I'd won. Arthur, you do despise me for what I've told you.
I'm very sorry for you, Robert. Very sorry indeed.
I can't say that I suffered any remorse. I didn't. But I've paid conscious money many times. The sum the Baron gave me, I have distributed to public charities many times over since then.
In public charities? Dear me, Robert. Well, a lot of harm you must have done.
Don't say things like that, Arthur. Don't talk like that.
Never mind what I say, Robert. I'm always saying what I shouldn't say. In fact, I usually say what I really think. Great mistake nowadays makes one so liable to be misunderstood. Well, as regards to this dreadful business, Robert, I'll help you whatever way I can. Of course, you know that.
Thank you, Arthur. But what is there to be done? What can be done?
Well, the English can't stand a man who's always saying that he's in the right. But they're very fond of a man who admits that he has been in the wrong. It's one of the best things in them. However, Robert, in your case, a confession would not do. The money, if you will allow me to say so, is awkward. And besides, if you did make a clean breast of the whole affair, you would never be able to talk morality again. And in England, a man who can't talk morality twice a week to a large, popular, immoral audience is quite over as a serious politician. There would be nothing left to him as a profession except botany or the church. No, a confession would not do. It would ruin you.
It would ruin me. Arthur, the only thing I have left is to fight the thing out.
I was waiting for you to say that, Robert. It is the only thing to do now, and you must begin by telling your wife the whole story.
That I will not do.
Robert, believe me, you are wrong.
I could not tell her. It would kill her love for me. Now about this woman, this Mrs. Sheevley. How do I defend myself against her? You used to know her, Arthur, didn't you?
Yes.
Did you know her well?
So little that I got engaged to be married to her once when I was staying at Tempe's. The affair lasted for 3 days. Nearly.
What made it to be broken up?
Oh, I forget. This makes no matter. By the way, have you tried her with money? She used to be confoundedly fond of money.
I offered her any sum she wanted. She refused.
Then the marvelous gospel of gold breaks down sometimes. The rich can do everything after all.
Not everything. I suppose you're right. Oh, Arthur, I feel that public disgrace is in store for me. It's as if a hand of ice was wrapping itself around my heart, as if my heart was beating itself to death in some...
Oh. Must fight her! You must fight her!
But how?
I can't tell you at present. I have not the smallest idea. But everyone has a weak point. There's some flaw in each one of us. My father tells me that even I have faults. Perhaps I have, I don't know.
In defending myself against Mrs. Sheevley, I have a right to use any weapon I can get my hands on, have I not?
In your place, I wouldn't have the smallest scruple in doing so. She's thoroughly well able to take care of herself.
And I shall write a cipher telegram to the embassy in Vienna and inquire if there's possibly maybe some secret scandal she might be afraid of.
Oh, I'm sure Mrs. Sheevley is one of those very modern women of our time who found a new scandal as becoming as a new bonnet and heard them both in the park every afternoon at 5:30. I'm sure she adores scandals and that the song of her life at present is that she can manage to have enough of them.
What makes you say that?
Well, she was wearing far too much rouge and not quite enough clothes yesterday evening. There's always a sign of despair in a woman.
But it is worthwhile me wiring to Vienna.
It is always worthwhile asking a question, though it is not always worthwhile answering one.
Is Mr. Trafford in his room?
Yes, Sir Robert.
Have this sent by a telegram to Vienna at once. There mustn't be a moment delay.
Yes, Sir
come back to me for a moment. She must have had some curious hold over the Baron. She must have had some curious hold over him. I wonder what it was.
I wonder.
Well, it's a chance, only a chance, but I believe in it. And she does look like a woman with a past, doesn't she?
Most pretty women do. But there is a fashion in past, just as there is a fashion in frost. And perhaps Mrs. Shibley's past as merely a slight décolleté one. They're excessively popular nowadays. Besides, I should not build too high hopes on frightening Mrs. Shibley. Should not fancy Mrs. Shibley is one of those women who is easily frightened. She has survived all her creditors and she shows wonderful presence of mind.
I live on hopes now, Arthur. I clutch at every chance. Oh, I feel like a man on a ship that's sinking. The water's around my feet and the air is bitter with storm. Hush, I hear my wife's voice.
Thank you, Vincent. Dear Lord Goring.
Good afternoon, Lady Shilton. Have you been in the park?
No. I'll tell you. I've been to the Women's Labour Association. Well, by the way, Robert, your name was receiving a lot of applause. And now I have come in to have my tea. You will wait and have some tea, won't you?
Oh, I'll wait for a short time, thanks.
I will be back in a moment. I'm only going to take my hat off.
Oh, please don't. It is so pretty. One of the prettiest hats I ever saw. I hope the Women's Liberal Association will receive with loud applause.
We have much more important work to do than look at each other's bonnets, Lord Goring.
Really? What sort of work?
Dull, useful, delightful things. Factory acts, female inspectors, the 8-hour speed, the parliamentary franchise, everything in fact that you will find uninteresting.
Never bonnets.
Never bonnets! Never!
Arthur, you have been a good friend to me, a thoroughly good friend.
I don't know that I've been able to do much for you, Robert, as yet. In fact, I haven't been able to do nothing for you as far as I can see. I'm thoroughly disappointed with myself.
You have enabled me to tell the truth. That is something. The truth has always stifled me.
The truth is, I think I get rid of as soon as possible. That habit, by the way, makes one very unpopular at the club with the older members. They call it being conceited. Well, perhaps it is.
Oh, I wish to God I was able to tell the truth, to live the truth. Ah, that is the one great thing in life, to live the truth. I shall see you soon again, shan't I, Arthur?
Certainly, whenever you like. I'm going to look in at the Bachelor's Ball tonight, unless I find something better to do. But I'll come round tomorrow morning. If you want me tonight, by any chance, Sandra, I'll move to Curzon Street.
Thank you, Arthur.
You're not going, Robert.
I have letters to write, my dear.
You work too hard, Robert. You seem never to think of yourself. You're looking so tired.
It is nothing, dear. Nothing.
Just sit down. I'm so glad you have called. I want to talk to you about one. Not about bonnets or the Women's Labour Association. You take far too much interest in the first subject and not nearly enough in the second.
You want to talk to me about Mrs. Shibley?
Yes, you have guessed it. After you left last night, I found out that what she has said was really true. Of course I knew Robert. Wrote her a letter at once, withdrawing his promise.
So he gave me to understand.
To have kept it would have been the first stain on a career that has been stainless always. Robert must be above reproach. He's not like other men. He cannot afford to do what other men do. Don't you agree with me? You're Robert's greatest friend. You are our greatest friend. No one except myself knows Robert better than you do. Has no secrets from me. And I don't think he has any from you.
He certainly has no secrets from me. At least I don't think so.
Then am I not right in my estimate of him? I know I'm right, but speak to me frankly.
Quite frankly,
Surely, you have nothing to conceal, have you?
nothing. But, my dear Lady Shelton, I think, if you will allow me to say so, that in practical life,
Of which you know so little, Lord Goring.
of which I know nothing by experience, though I know something by observation, I think that in practical life there is something about success, actual success, that is a little unscrupulous, something about ambition that is unscrupulous always. Once a man has set his heart and soul to getting him to a certain point, if he has to climb the crag, he climbs the crag. If he has to walk in the mire,
Well,
he walks in the mire. Of course, I'm only talking generally about life.
I hope so. But why do you look at me so strangely, Lord Goring?
Lady Shelton, I have sometimes thought that perhaps you're a little hard on some of your views on life. I think that often you can make sufficient allowances. In every nature there are elements of weakness, or worse than weakness. Supposing, for instance, that any public man, my father, or Lord Burton, or Robert, say, had years ago written some foolish letter to someone.
What do you mean by a foolish letter?
A letter gravely compromising one's position. I'm only put in an imaginary case.
Robert is as incapable of doing a foolish thing as he's of doing a wrong thing.
Nobody's incapable of doing a foolish thing, and nobody's incapable of doing a wrong thing.
Are you a pessimist? What will the other than they say? That we all have to go into mourning.
No, Lady Shelton, I'm not a pessimist. Indeed, I'm not sure that I quite know what pessimism really means. All I do know is that life cannot be understood without much charity, cannot believe without much charity. It is love and not German philosophy that is the true explanation of this word, whatever may be the explanation of the next. And if you're ever in trouble, Lady Shelton, trust me absolutely, and I will help in whatever way I can. If you ever want me, come to me for my assistance, and you shall have it. Come at once to me.
Lord Goring, you're talking quite seriously. I don't think I ever heard you talk seriously before.
You must excuse me, Lady Shelton. It won't occur again if I can help it.
But I like you to be serious.
Dear Gertrude, don't say such a dreadful thing to Lord Goring. Seriousness would be most unbecoming to him. Good afternoon, Lord Goring. Pray be as trivial as you can.
I should like to, Miss Mabel, but I'm afraid I am a little out of practice this morning. And besides, I have to be going now.
Just when I have come in. What dreadful manners you have. I'm sure you were very badly brought up.
I was.
I wish I had brought you up.
I'm so sorry you didn't.
It's too late now, I suppose.
I'm not so sure.
Will you write tomorrow morning?
Yes, that's it.
Don't forget.
Of course I shall. By the way, Lady Shelton, there's no list of your guests in the morning post of today. It has apparently been crowded up by the County Council or the Lambeth Conference or, no, something equally boring. Could you let me have a list? I have a particular reason for asking.
I'm sure Mr. Trafford will be able to give you one.
Oh, thanks so much.
Tommy's the most useful person in London.
And who's the most ornamental?
I am.
How clever of you to guess it. Goodbye, Lady Shelton. You will remember what I said to you, won't you?
Yes, but I don't know why you started to me.
I hardly know myself. Goodbye, Miss Mabel.
Oh, I wish you were not going. I've had 4 wonderful adventures today, 4.5 in fact. You might stop and listen to some of them.
How very selfish of you to have 4.5. There won't be any left for me.
I don't want you to have any. It would not be good for you.
It's the first unkind thing you've ever said to me. How charmingly you said it. And tomorrow.
Sharp.
Quite sharp. But don't bring Mr. Trafford.
Of course I shan't bring Tommy Trafford. Tommy Trafford is a great disgrace.
I'm delighted to hear it.
Gertrude, I wish you would speak to Tommy Trafford.
What has poor Mr. Trafford done this time? Robert says he's the best secretary he has ever had.
Well, Tommy has proposed to me again. Tommy really does nothing but propose to me. He proposed to me last night in the music room while I was quite unprotected, as there was an elaborate trio going on. I didn't dare make the smallest repartee, I can hardly tell you. If I had, it would have stopped the music at once. Musical people are so absurdly unreasonable. They're always longing for one to be perfectly dumb the very moment one is longing to be absolutely deaf. Then, he proposed to me this morning in front of that dreadful statue of Achilles. Really, the things that go on in front of that work of art are quite appalling. The police should interfere. At luncheon, I saw by the glare in his eye that he was going to propose again, and I just managed to check him in time by assuring him that I was a bimetallist. Fortunately, I don't know what bimetallism means. I don't think anybody else does either, but the observation crushed Tommy. For 10 minutes, he looked quite shocked. And then Tommy is so annoying in the way he proposes. If he proposed at the top of his voice, I wouldn't mind so much. That might produce some effect on the public, but he does it in this horrid, confidential way. When Tommy wants to be romantic, he talks to one just like a doctor. I'm very fond of Tommy, but his methods of proposing are quite out of date. I wish, Gertrude, that you would talk to him and tell him that once a week is quite enough to propose to anyone, and that he will always so much, don't they? Such a bad habit. And they're always thinking about themselves, and I want them to be thinking about me. Anyway, I must go now and rehearse at Lady Basildon's. You remember we're having some tableau, don't you? The triumph. Something. I don't know what. I hope it will be a triumph for me. Oh, Gertrude, do you know who's coming up to see you? Dreadful Mrs. Shepley in the most lovely gown.
Mrs. Shipley, coming to see me? Impossible.
Surely she's coming upstairs. As large as life and not nearly as natural.
Wait, neighbor, remember, Lady Basildon is expecting you.
I must say hello to Lady Markby. She's delightful. I love being scolded by her.
Lady Markby, Mrs. Shipley.
Dear Lady Markby, how nice of you to come and see me. Won't you sit down, Mrs. Shipley?
Thanks. Oh, isn't that Miss Chiltern? I should like so much to know her.
Neighbor, Mrs. Shipley wishes to know you.
I thought your frock so charming last night, Miss Chiltern. So simple and suitable.
Really? I must tell my dressmaker. It will be such a surprise to her. Goodbye, Lady Markby.
Oh, are you ready?
I'm sorry, but I must. I've got to stand on my head in some tableau.
On your head, child? That sounds most unhealthy.
Oh, but it's for an excellent charity. In aid of the undeserving, the only people I am really interested in. I'm the secretary, and Tommy Trafford is the treasurer.
And what is Lord Goring?
Oh, Lord Goring is president.
Oh, that posture suited him admirably, unless he has deteriorated since I knew him first.
Oh, you're remarkably modern, Mabel. A little too modern, perhaps. Nothing is worse as being too modern. One is up to grow old-fashioned quite suddenly. I've known many instances of it.
What a dreadful prospect.
Oh, you needn't worry, dear. You will always be as pretty as ever. That is the only fashion there is, and the only fashion England succeeds in setting.
Thank you so much, Lady Markby, for England and myself.
My dear Gertrude, it is called to know if Mr. Shepley's diamond brooch has been found.
Here.
Yes, I missed it when I got back from Claridge's. I thought I might have possibly dropped it in here.
I have heard nothing about it. I will send for the butler now.
Oh, pray don't trouble, Lady Chiltern. I dare to say that I have lost it at the opera before I came in here.
Oh, of course, it must have been at the opera. The truth is, we all scramble and jostle so much nowadays that I wonder we have anything at all left in us at the end of an evening. I myself know that when I come back from the drawing room, I feel as if I hadn't a shred in me, except a shred of just decent reputation, just enough to prevent the lower classes from making painful observations through the windows of the carriage. Oh, the fact is, our society is terribly overpopulated. Someone should propose a scheme of assisted immigration. It would do a great deal of good.
You know, I quite agree with you, Lady Markby. It's been nearly 6 years since I've been in London for the season, and I have to say society has become so dreadfully mixed. One sees the oddest people everywhere.
Ah, that is quite true, dear, but one need to know them. I don't know half the people who come to my house, and from what I hear, I shouldn't like to.
What sort of a brooch was it that you lost, Mrs. Shipley?
A diamond's neat brooch with a ruby. A rather large ruby.
I thought it was a sapphire on the head, dear.
No, Lady Markby, a ruby.
Oh, and very becoming, I'm sure of that.
Has a ruby and a diamond brooch been found in any of the rooms this morning, Hazel?
No, my lady.
It's really of no consequence, Lady Chiltern. I don't wish to put you to any inconvenience.
Oh, it has been how inconvenient. That will do. Thank you, Hazel. You can bring tea.
Well, it is true. It is most unpleasant to lose anything. Oh, I remember once at Bath, years ago, losing in a pump room an exceedingly handsome cameo bracelet that Sir John had given me. he hasn't given me anything since. He has sadly deteriorated. This horrid House of Commons really ruins our husbands for us. It's the worst, it's the greatest blow to a happy married life ever since that dreadful, what was it, the highest education of women.
It is heresy to say that in this house, Lady Markley. Robert is a great champion of the higher education of women, and so, I'm afraid, am I.
Oh, higher education of men is what I should like to see. Men need it so sadly.
They do, dear. But such a scheme would be quite unpractical. Man doesn't have much capacity for development. He has gone as far as he can, and that is not very far, is it? Now, with regards to women, my dear Gertrude, you belong to a younger generation, and I suppose it's appropriate for you to support the higher education of women. In my time, we were told not to understand anything. The amount of things me and my poor dear sister were taught not to understand was quite extraordinary. That was a different time, but wonderfully interesting it was. But I do understand modern women know everything, don't they?
Except their husbands. That is the one thing modern women never understand.
And a very good thing so too, dear, dare say. It would break up many a happy home if they did. Well, not yours, my dear Gertrude, not yours, of course. You've married a pattern husband. I wish I could say the same, but ever since Sir John has taken seriously into politics, which he never used to do in the good old days, he has become a great trial. Now, he seems to think that he always is addressing the House, and consequently, whenever he discusses the state of the agricultural labourer, or the Welsh Church, or something equally improper, I'm obliged to send all the servants out of the room. It is really so unpleasant to see one's own butler, who has been with one for 25 years, blushing on the sideboard, and the footmen making contortions in corners like people from circuses. I assure you my life would be quite ruined unless they send Sir John at once to the upper house. He won't take any interest in politics then, will he? The House of Lords, an assembly of gentlemen. But sadly, in his present state, Sir John's temper is quite impossible. Why, this morning, even before breakfast was over, he stood up on the hearthrug, he put his hands in his pockets and appealed to the country at the top of his voice. I left the kitchen as soon as I had my second cup of tea, I dare say. His violent language could be heard all over the house. I trust Sir Robert is not like this, is he?
No. I'm very much interested in politics, Lady Markley. I love to hear Robert talk about them.
I hope he's not as interested in bills of parliament as Sir John is. I don't think they can be quite improving reading for anyone.
I've never read a bill of parliament. I prefer my books read avant-garde.
Avant-garde, I used to wear avant-garde fashion in my day, and will still do so now if Sir John wasn't so painfully personal with his observation regarding dress. And a man of this chapter is always ridiculous, is he not?
Oh no, men are the only authorities on dress.
One wouldn't think so from the sort of hats they wear.
Would you like some tea, Mrs. Shirley?
Thanks.
Some tea, Lady Markley?
No, thank you, dear. The fact is, we promised to go around for 10 minutes to visit poor Lady Brancaster, who is really in great trouble. Her daughter, through no fault of her own, I dare say, a very well brought up girl too, has been engaged to be married to a curate from Shropshire. I know, very sad indeed. I don't understand this modern mania for curates. In my time, we girls saw them, of course, running about the place like rabbits, but we never paid any attention. But from what I hear, country society is quite honeycombed with them. It is most irreligious. Most irreligious. Oh, and the eldest son? Yes, it is said he has quarreled with his father. And now, whenever they meet at the club, Lord Brancaster hides behind money articles in the Times. Apparently, it's such a common occurrence that they've ordered in extra copies of the Times in all the clubs in St. James Street. There are so many sons that won't have anything to do with their fathers, and so many fathers who won't speak to their sons. I find it very much to be regretted.
Fathers have so much to learn from their sons nowadays.
Really, dear, what?
The art of living. The only really fine art we have produced in modern times.
I'm sure Lord Brancaster knew a great deal about that. More than his poor wife ever did. Oh, you did know Lady Brancaster, didn't you, dear?
Just likely she was staying in Lambton last autumn.
Like all stout women, she is the picture of happiness. But she has had many tragedies in her life besides this recent affair with the curate. Her sister, Mrs. Jekyll, through no fault of her own, she had led the most unhappy life. In the end, she was so broken-hearted that she went to a convent. Or the operatic stage, I forget which. Or perhaps it was decorative art needlework she took up. Anyway, in the end, she had lost all sense of pleasure in life. And now, my dear, I shall leave you. Shall I leave Mrs. Sheedley in your charge and come back for her in a quarter of an hour? Or perhaps, Mrs. Sheedley, you wouldn't mind waiting in the carriage? Since this will be a visit of condolence, as can't stay long.
I don't mind waiting in the carriage at all, provided there's somebody to look at one.
Well, the curator is always running about the place.
I'm afraid I'm not fond of girlfriends.
I hope Mrs. Shibley will stay here a little. I should like to have a few minutes conversation with her.
How very kind of you, Lady Chiltern. Believe me, nothing would give me greater pleasure.
Of course, you do have many reminiscences from your school days to talk over together. Shall I see your Lady Bonus tonight, dear? She has found this wonderful new genius who does nothing at all. How refreshing is this?
Robert and I are only at home by ourselves tonight. And I don't think I shall go anywhere afterwards. Of course, Robert will have to be in the house, but there is nothing interesting on.
Dining at home by yourselves? Is that prudent? I forget. You've married an example. An exception. I have married the general rule, and nothing is worse than having married the general rule. See you, dear.
Wonderful woman, Lady Markby, isn't she? Talks more and says less than anybody I ever met. She's made to be a public speaker, even more so than her husband, though he's a typical Englishman, always dull and usually violent.
Mrs. Shibley, I think it's right to tell you quite frankly that had I known who you really were, I should not have invited you to my house last night.
Really?
I could not have done so.
I see that after all those years, you haven't changed a bit, Gertrude.
I never change.
Then life has taught you nothing.
It has taught me that a person who has once been guilty of a dishonorable and dishonest action may be guilty of it a second time and should be shunned.
Would you apply that rule to everyone?
Yes, to everyone, without exception.
And I'm so sorry for you, Gertrude. Very sorry for you.
You see now that any further acquaintance between us during your stay in London is quite impossible.
You know, Gertrude, I don't mind you talking morality a bit. Morality is simply the attitude we adopt towards people we personally dislike. You dislike me, I'm quite aware of that. And I've always detested you. And yet, I've come here to do you a service.
Like the service you wished to render my husband last night, I suppose. Thank heaven I saved him from that.
It was you who made him write that insolent letter to me. It was you who made him break his promise.
Yes!
And you must make him keep it. I give you till tomorrow morning, no more. If by then your husband does not solemnly bind himself to help me in this great scheme in which I'm interested.
That father is the curate! husband to do with you? With a woman like you?
In this world, like meets like. It's because your husband is himself fraudulent and dishonest, so we pair so well together. Between you and him there are chasms. He and I are closer than friends. We are enemies linked together. The same sin binds us.
How dare you class my husband with yourself? How dare you frighten him or me? Leave my house and I'm fit to enter it!
Your house. A house bought with the price of dishonor. A house in everything has been paid for by fraud. Ask him what the origin of his fortune is. Get him to tell you how he sold a stock exchange speculator. A cabinet secret. Learn from him to what you owe your position.
Robert, it is not true. It is not true.
Look at him. Can he deny it? Does he dare to?
Go! Go at once! You have done your worst now!
My worst. I have not yet finished with you, with either of you. I give you till tomorrow at noon. If by then you don't do what I bid you to do, the whole world shall know the origin of Robert Chiltern.
Show Mrs. Shively out.
You sold a cabinet secret for money. You began your life with fraud. You built up your career on dishonor. But tell me it's not true. Lie to me. Lie to me. Tell me it's not true.
What this woman said is quite true. But Gertrude, you don't realize how I've been tempted. Let me tell you the whole thing.
Don't come near me. Don't touch me. Where must you have been wearing all these years? A horrible painted mask. You sold yourself for money. A common thief or better. You put yourself up to this day to the highest bidder. You were bought in the market. You lied to the whole world, and yet you will not lie to me.
Gertrude.
Oh, say nothing. Your voice wakes terrible memories. Memories of things that made me love you. Memories of words that made me love you. Memories that now are horrible to me, and how I worshipped you. You were to me something apart from common life. A thing pure, noble, honest, without stain. The world seemed to me finer because you were in it. And goodness more real because you lived. Oh, and now, when I think that I'm made of a man like you, my ideal of my life.
There was your mistake. There was your error, the error all women commit. Why must you put us on these monstrous pedestals? We have all feet of clay, women as well as men. It's not the perfect, but the imperfect that are in need of love. Love should forgive. All lives, save loveless lives. True love should pardon. And so, last night you ruined my life for me. Yes, ruined it. What this woman asked for was nothing compared to what she offered. She offered security, peace, stability. The sin of my youth rose up in front of me and I could have killed it forever, sent it back into its tomb. You prevented it. You and you alone, you know that. And now, what is there before me other than public disgrace, shame, terrible shame, the mockery of the world, ruin, a lonely, dishonored life, a lonely, dishonored death it might be someday. Let women make no more ideals of men. Let them not put them on altars and bow before them, or they may ruin other lives as completely as you. You whom I so wildly love have ruined mine.
in London at present who wears a buttonhole.
Yes, my lord, I have observed.
See, Phipps, fashion is what one wears oneself, whereas unfashionable is what other people wear.
Yes, my lord.
Just as vulgarity is simply the conduct of other people.
Yes, my lord.
And falsehood, the truth of other people.
Yes, my lord.
Other people are quite dreadful. The only possible society is oneself.
Yes, my lord.
To love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance, Phipps.
Yes, my lord.
I don't think I quite like this buttonhole, Phipps. Makes me a little too old. Makes me almost in the prime of life, huh, Phipps?
I don't see any alteration in your lord's appearance.
You don't, Phipps?
No, my lord.
I'm not so sure. For the future, Phipps, I won't you your buttonhole on Thursday evenings.
I will speak to the florist, my lord. She has had a loss in her family, which perhaps accounts for like a triviality, which complains of in the buttonhole.
Extraordinary thing about the lower class in England, they're always losing their relations.
Yes, my lord. They are extremely fortunate in that respect.
Any letters, Phipps?
3, my lord.
Well, they have around in 20 years.
Yes, my lord.
Hey, Phipps, when did this letter arrive?
It was brought by hand, just after your lordship went to the cup.
That will do. Chilton's handwriting? Lady Chilton's paper of paper. That's rather curious. How Robert was to write. Wonder what Lady Chilton's got to say to me. I trust you. I want you. I am coming to you, Gertrude. I trust you. I want you. I am coming. Oh, so she has found out everything. Oh, poor woman, poor woman. What now to call? 10 o'clock. I shall have to give up going to the Berkshires. However, it is always nice to be expected and not to turn up. I am not expected at the bachelor's, so I shall certainly go there. Well, I will make her stand by her husband. It is the only thing for her to do now. It is the only thing for any woman to do. It is the growth of the moral sense in women that makes marriage such a hopeless, one-sided institution. 10 o'clock, she shall be here soon. I must have Phipps and I'm not into anyone else.
Lord Caversham.
Well, why will parents always appear at the wrong time? Some extraordinary mistake in nature, I suppose. Delighted to see you, my dear father.
Yes, well, take my cloak off.
Is it worthwhile, father?
Well, of course it's worthwhile. Now, which is the most comfortable chair?
That one, father. It is the chair I use myself when I have visitors.
Good. No draught in this room, I hope.
No, father.
Excellent. Can't stand a draught. No draughts at home.
Good many breezes, father.
What? Hey? No, I don't know what you mean. Now, I want to have a serious conversation with you, sir.
With your father, this hour.
It's only 10 o'clock. What is your objection to the hour? I think it is an admirable hour.
The fact is, father, this is not my day for talking seriously. I'm very sorry, but this is not my day.
What do you mean, sir?
During the season, father, I only talk seriously in the first Tuesday in every month, from 4 to 7.
Well, just make it Tuesday. Make it Tuesday.
It is after 7, father. My doctor says I must not have any serious conversation after 7. Makes me talk in my sleep.
Talk in your sleep? Well, what difference does that make? You're not married.
No, father, I am not married.
And that is precisely what it is I've come to talk to you about, sir. You've got to get married, and at once. Why, when I was your age, I was already an inconsolable widower for 3 months and paying my addresses to your admirable mother. Damn, sir, it is your duty to get married. You can't always be living for pleasure. Everyone of position is married nowadays. You know, bachelors aren't fashionable anymore. They're a damaged lot. Too much is known about them. No, you must take a wife, sir. Why, look where your friend Robert Chilton has got to with probity, hard work, and a sensible marriage with a good woman. Why don't you imitate him, sir? Why don't you take him for your model?
I think I shall, father.
Yes, well, I wish you would. At present, I make your mother's life quite miserable on your account. You are heartless, sir. Very heartless.
I hope not, father.
And it is high time for you to get married. You're 34 years old.
Yes, father, but I only make to 32, 31 and a half.
I tell you, you are 34 years of age, sir. There is a draft in this room. Much worse. Why did you tell me there was no draft, sir? I feel a draft. I feel it distinctly.
So why, father? It's a dreadful draft. I'll come to you tomorrow, father. Now, shan't I? You can talk about anything you like. Let me help you on with your club, Father.
No, sir. I have come here with a definite purpose, and I have been to see it through at all costs to my health or yours. Put my cloak down, sir!
Certainly, Father. But let us go into another room. There's a dreadful draught here. Phipps, is there a good fire in the smoking room?
Yes, my lord.
Come in there, Father. Your sneezes are quite hot right
No,
now.
but I suppose I have the right to sneeze when I choose.
Quite so. I was merely expressing sympathy.
No, don't get sympathy. There's a great deal too much of that going on nowadays.
And I agree with you, Father. If there was less sympathy in the world, there would be less trouble in the world.
No, that is a paradox, sir. I hate paradoxes.
So do I, Father. Everybody what miss nowadays is a paradox. It is a great bore, makes society so obvious.
Tell me, do you always understand what it is you say?
Yes, Father, if I listen attentively.
If I listen attentively. Conceited young puppy. I don't know what was wrong with that one. He goes on a
There's a lady coming tonight to see me on particular business. When she arrives, show her into the drawing room. You understand?
Yes, my lord.
It is a matter of the gravest importance, Phipps.
I understand, my lord.
No one else is to be admitted, under any circumstances.
I understand, my lord.
That must be the lady. I shall see her myself.
Well, sir, I suppose I have to wait attendance on you.
In a moment, Father, do excuse me.
Bah!
To that room.
Yes, my lord.
What's name, madam?
Is Lord Goring not here? I was told he was at home.
His lordship is engaged at present with Lord Caversham, madam.
How very filial.
His lordship told me to ask you, madam, to be kind enough to wait in the drawing room for him. His lordship will come to you there.
Lord Goring expects me.
Yes, madam.
Are you quite sure?
His lordship told me that if the lady called, I was to ask her to wait in the drawing room for him. He gives lordship directions on the subject there, very precise.
How thoughtful of him to expect the unexpected shows. Thoroughly modern intellect. How dreary Bachelor's drawing room always looked like. I shall watch all this. No, I don't care for the lamp. It is far too glaring. Light up some candles.
Certainly, madam.
I hope the candles have very becoming shades.
We have no complaints about them, as yet.
I wonder what a woman he's waiting for tonight. It will be delightful to get him. Men always look so silly when they are caught, and they are always being caught. What a very interesting room. What a very interesting picture. I wonder what his correspondence is like. A very uninteresting correspondence. Bills and cards and debts and dollars. Who on earth writes to him on a pink paper? How silly to write on a pink paper. It looks like the beginning of a middle-class romance. And romance should never begin with a sentiment. It should begin with science and end up with a settlement. I know the handwriting. That is Gertrude Chilterns. I remember it perfectly now. The 10 Commandments in every stroke of the pen, and moral law all over the page. I wonder what Gertrude is writing to him about. Something horrid about me, I suppose. How I detest that woman. I trust you, I want you, I'm coming to you, Gertrude. I trust you. I want you. I'm coming to...
The candles in the drawing room, madam, as you directed.
Thank you.
I trust the shades will be to your liking, madam. They are the most becoming we have. They are the same as his lordship uses when he is dressing up for the dinner.
Then I'm sure they will be perfectly all right.
Thank you, madam.
to get married at once.
Dear Father, if I'm to get married, surely you will allow me to choose the time, place, and person, particularly the person.
Of course not. That's a matter for me, sir. You would probably make a very poor choice indeed. It is I who should be consulted. There is property at stake here. It's not a matter for affection. Affection comes later on in married life.
Yes, but affection comes when people thoroughly dislike each other, doesn't it?
Yes, certainly, sir. I mean, certainly not, sir. You're talking very foolishly tonight. What I'm trying to tell you is that marriage is a matter for common sense.
The women who have common sense are so curiously plain, Father, aren't they? Of course, I only speak from hearsay.
No woman, plain or pretty, has any common sense at all. That is the privilege of our sex.
Quite so. And we men are so self-sacrificing that we never use it, do we, Father?
I use it, sir. I use nothing else.
So my mother tells me.
There, it is the secret of your mother's happiness. Oh, you are heartless, sir. Very heartless.
I hope not, Father.
Arthur, such a piece of good luck meeting me at the doorstep. Your servant has just told me you were not at home. How extraordinary.
The fact is, Robert, that I'm horribly busy tonight, and I gave directions to my servant that I was not at home to anyone. Even my father had a comparatively cold reception. He complained about draft the whole time.
Arthur, you must be at home to me. You are my best friend. Perhaps by tomorrow you'll be my only friend. My wife has discovered everything.
I guessed as much.
Really? How?
Well, maybe by something, the expression of your face as you came in. Who told her?
The woman herself, Mrs. Shively. And now the only woman I love knows that I began my life with an act of low dishonesty, that I built all in my career on sands of shame, that I saw like a common huckster the secret that was entrusted to me as a man of honour. Oh, I thank God poor Lord Radley died before he could discover I betrayed him. I wish I had died before I could be tempted so horribly or fallen so low.
You have heard nothing from Vienna yet in answer to your wire.
I had a telegram for the first secretary today at 8.
Well?
Nothing is absolutely known against her. As a matter of fact, she occupies a rather high position in society. It is a sort of open secret that Baron Arnheim left her the larger part of his fortune upon his death. Beyond that, I can learn nothing.
She doesn't turn out to be a spy then?
Oh no, the spies are of no use nowadays. The profession is over. Newspapers do their work these days. Arthur, I am parched with thirst. Would you mind if I rang for some hock and seltzer?
Oh, strictly, let me.
Arthur, I don't know what to do. Don't know what to do, and you are my only friend. But what a friend you are. A friend I can trust. I can trust you absolutely on the
But
counter.
dear Robert, of course. Oh, bring some hock and seltzer.
Yes, madam.
Oh, and Vips, would you mind a moment, Robert? I want to give some orders to my servant.
Certainly.
When the lady calls, tell her that I've been suddenly called out of town, and I'm not expected home this evening. You understand?
The lady's in that room, my lord. You told me to show her into that room, my lord.
You did perfectly right. What a mess I am in. No, I shall get through it. I'll give her a lecture through a door. What thing to manage, though?
Arthur, tell me what I should do. I'm like a ship without a rudder and a night without a star.
Robert, you love your wife, don't you?
Of course I love my wife. I love her more than anything else in the world. I used to think ambition is a great thing in life. I was wrong. It's not. It's love that is a great thing. There's only love, and I love her. I'm ignoble in her eyes. I'm defamed in her eyes. There's a wide gulf between us. She has found me out, Arthur. She has found me out.
Has she never in her life done some folly, some indiscretion that she should not forgive the sin?
My wife? Never. She stands apart as good women do. Pitiless in her perfection, stern, without mercy. We are childless, Arthur, and I have no one else to love, and no one else to love me. I only love her. Perhaps if God gave us children, she would have been kinder to me, but God gave us a lonely house, and she cut my heart in two. Don't let us talk about it. I was brutal to her this night, but I suppose when sinners talk to saints, they are brutal always. Don't let us talk about that.
Your wife will forgive you, Robert. Perhaps at this moment she's forgiving you. She loves you, Robert. Why should she not forgive?
Don't grant it, don't grant it. But there is something else I wish to talk to you about, Arthur.
Hock and seltzer, Sir.
Thank you.
Is your carriage here, Robert?
No, I walked from the club.
Sir Robert will take my cab fit.
Yes, ma'am.
Robert, you don't mind my sending you away?
Arthur, you must let me stay for at least 5 minutes. I have made up my mind as to what I'm going to do tonight in the house. The debate on the Argentine Canal is to begin at 11 o'clock. What was that?
Nothing.
I heard a chair fall in that room. Someone has been listening.
No, there's no one there.
There is someone. The door is ajar, and the light is on. Someone has been listening to every secret of my life. Arthur, what does this mean?
No, Robert, you're excited and nervous. I tell you, there is no one in that room. Sit down, Robert.
You give me your word that there is no one there.
Yes.
Your word of honor.
Yes.
Arthur, I must see for myself.
No.
Arthur, you must let me go into that room and satisfy myself. Let me know that no eavesdropper has heard my life's secret. Arthur, you don't realize what I'm going
Robert,
through.
this must stop. I have told you there is no one in that room. That is enough.
It is not enough. You have told me that there is no one in that room, so what reason you have for forbidding me to go into
For
that?
God's sake, don't! There is someone in that room. Someone whom you must not see.
I thought so.
I forbid you to enter that room.
My life is at stake. I don't care who is there. I will know to whom I have told the secret and the shame of my life. Who?
For good heavens, it's his own wife!
What explanation do you have to give me for the presence of that woman here?
Robert, I swear to you on my honor, that lady is stainless and guiltless of all offense towards you.
She is a vile and infamous thing.
I'm not saying that, Robert. It was for your sake she came here tonight. It was to try and save you she came here tonight. She loves you, Robert, and no one else.
You are mad. What have I to do with her intrigues with you? Let her remain your mistress. You two are well suited to each other. She, corrupt and shameful. You, false as a friend, treacherous as an enemy.
It is not true. Before heaven, it is not true. In her presence and in yours, I will explain all.
Let me pass, sir. You have lied enough upon your word of honor.
Good evening, Lord Goring.
Mr. Shipley. Great heavens. May I ask what you were doing in my drawing room?
Merely listening. I have a perfect passion for listening through keyholes. One always hears such wonderful things through them.
Doesn't that sound rather like tempting Providence?
Oh, surely Providence can resist temptation by this time.
I'm glad you've called. I'm going to give you some good advice.
Oh, pray don't. One should never give woman anything she can wear in the evening.
I think you would see you as willful as you used to be.
Far more. I have greatly improved. I've had more experience.
Too much experience is a dangerous thing. Oh, pray have a cigarette. Half of the pretty women in London smoke cigarettes. Personally, I prefer the other half.
Things I never smoke. A dressmaker wouldn't like it. And a woman's first duty is to a dressmaker, isn't it? But the second duty is no one has yet discovered.
Come here to sell me Robert Chilton's letter, haven't you?
To offer it to you on conditions. How did you guess that?
Because you haven't mentioned the subject. Have you got it with you?
Oh no. A well-made dress has no pockets.
What's your price for it?
How absurdly English you are. The English think that a checkbook can solve every problem in life. Why, my dear author, I have much more money than you have, and quite as much as Robert Chilton has got hold of. Money's not what I want.
What do you want then, Mr. Shipley?
Why don't you call me Laura?
I don't like that name.
You used to adore it.
Yes, that's why.
Out there, you loved me once.
Yes.
And you asked me to be your wife.
That was the natural result of my loving you.
And then you threw me over because you saw, or said you saw, poor old Lord Mortlake trying to have a violent flirtation with me in Conservatory at Rugby.
I am under the impression that my lawyer settled that matter with you on certain terms, dictated by yourself. At that time I was poor, you were rich. Quite so, that is why you pretended to love me.
Poor old Lord Mortlake, who had two topics of conversation, his gout and his wife. I could never quite make out which one of those two he was talking about. He used the most horrible language about them both. Well, you are silly, Arthur. Why? Lord Mortlake was never anything more to me than amusement. One of those utterly tedious amusements one can only find at an English country house on an English countryside. I don't think anyone at all morally responsible for what he or she does on an English country house.
Yeah, I know lots of people think that.
I loved you, Arthur.
Oh, my dear Mr. Shibley, you've always been far too clever to know anything about love.
I did love you, and you loved me. And love is a very wonderful thing. I suppose when a man has once loved a woman, he would do anything for her, except continue to love her.
Yes, except that.
Then you're going to allow your greatest friend, Robert Chiltern, to be ruined, rather than marry someone who still had some considerable attractions left. I thought you would have risen to some great height of self-sacrifice, Arthur. I think you should. And the rest of your life you could spend in contemplating your own perfection.
Well, I do that as it is. And self-sacrifices, I think that should be put down by law. It is so demoralizing to the people for whom one sacrifices oneself. They always go to the bad.
As if anything could demoralize Robert Chiltern. You seem to forget that I know his real character.
What you know about him is not his real character. It was an act of folly done in his youth. Shameful, I admit. Dishonorable, I admit. Unworthy of him, I admit. And therefore, not his true character.
How you men always stand up for each other.
Oh, how you women war against each other.
I only war against one woman. Gertrude Chiltern. I hate her. I hate her now more than ever.
Because you brought a real tragedy into her life, I suppose.
Oh, there is only one real tragedy in a woman's life. The fact that her past is always her lover, and her future invariably her husband.
The children knows nothing of the kind of life to which you're alluding.
A woman whose size and gloves is 7 3/4 never knows much about anything. Did you know that Gertrude has always worn 7 3/4? That is one of the reasons why there was never any moral sympathy between us. Well, I suppose this romantic interview may be regarded as at an end. You admit it was romantic, wouldn't you? For the privilege of being your wife, I was ready to surrender a great prize, the climax of my diplomatic career. You decline. Very well. If Sir Robert doesn't uphold to my Argentine scheme, I expose him. Voila.
You mustn't do that. That would be vile, horrible, infamous.
Oh, don't use big words. They mean so little. It is a commercial transaction. There is no goodness and sentimentality in it. I offer to sell Robert Chiltern certain things. If he won't pay me my price, he'll have to pay the world's greater price. There's no more to be said. I must go. Goodbye. Won't you shake hands?
With you? No. The transaction with Robert Chiltern may pass as a loathsome commercial transaction in a loathsome commercial age. You seem to have forgotten that you came here tonight to talk of love. You, whose lips desecrated the word love. You, to whom the thing is a book closely sealed, went this afternoon to the house of one of the most noble and gentle women in the world, to degrade her husband in her eyes, to put her poison in her heart, to put bitterness in her life, to break her idol, and it may be spoil her soul. That I cannot forgive. That was horrible. For that there can be no forgiveness.
Arthur, you're unjust to me. Believe me, you're quite unjust to me. I didn't go to told Gertrude at all. I have no idea of doing that sort of thing when I entered. I called with Lady Markby simply to ask whether an ornament of jewel I lost somewhere last night had been found. If you don't believe me, you can ask Lady Markby. She will tell you it is true. The scene that occurred after Lady Markby had left was really forced on me by Gertrude's rudeness and sneer. Called, a little out of malice, if you like, but simply to ask whether a diamond snake brooch had been found. That was the origin of the whole thing.
A diamond snake brooch with a ruby.
Yes, how do you know?
Because it is found In point of fact, I found it myself and stupidly forgot to tell the butler anything about it as I was leaving. Isn't this one? This is a brooch, isn't it?
Yes, I'm so glad to get it back. It was a present.
Will you wear it?
Certainly, if you pin it in. Where did you put it on as a bracelet? I never knew it could be worn as a bracelet.
Oh, really?
No. But it looks very well on me as a bracelet, doesn't it?
Yes, much better than when I saw it last.
When did you see it last?
Oh, 10 years ago on Lady Berkshire, from whom you stole it.
What do you mean?
I mean that you stole that ornament from my cousin, Berkshire, to whom I gave it when she was married. Suspicion fell on a wretched servant who was sent away in disgrace. I recognized it last night, and I determined to say nothing about it until I have found the thief. I found the thief now. Now heard her own confession.
It is not true.
You know it's true. Why? Thief is written across your face at this moment.
I will deny the whole affair from beginning to an end. I will see that I've never seen this wretched thing, that it was never in my possession.
The drawback of stealing, I think, Mr. Shibley, is that one never knows how wonderful the thing that one steals is. You can't get off that bracelet unless you know where the spring is. Unless you don't know where the spring is, it's rather difficult to find.
You brute, you coward!
Oh, shh, don't use big words, they mean so little.
What are you going to do?
I am going to ring for my servant. He's an admirable servant, always comes in the moment one rings for him. And when he comes, I'll tell him to fetch the police.
The police? What for?
Well, the Berkshires will prosecute you. That is what the police are for.
Don't do that! I will do anything you want. Anything in the world you want.
Give me Robert Chilton's letter.
I don't have it with me. I will give it to you tomorrow.
You know you're lying. Give it to me at once. This is it?
Yeah.
For so well dressed a woman, Mrs. Shibley, you have moments of admirable common sense. I congratulate you.
Give me a glass of water.
Certainly.
Thanks. Will you help me in with my cloak?
With pleasure.
I promise I'm never going to try to harm Robert Chilton again.
Fortunately, you have not the chance, Mrs. Shibley.
Well, even if I had the chance, I wouldn't. On the contrary, I'm going to render him a great service.
I am charmed to hear it. It's a reformation.
Yes, I can bear so upright, an English gentleman being so shamefully deceived, and
Well,
I find that somehow Gertrude's dying speech and confession has strayed into my pocket.
what do you mean?
I mean that I'm going to send Robert Chilton the love letter his wife wrote to you tonight.
Love letter?
I trust you. I want you. I'm coming to you, Gertrude.
Oh, you wretched woman! What's you always been thinking? Give me back that letter. I'll take it from you by force. You...
Lord Goring merely rang that you should show me out. Good night, Lord Goring.
It's a great nuisance. Can't find anyone in this house to talk to. I'm full of interesting information. I feel like the latest edition of something or other.
Sir Robert is still at the Foreign Office, my lord.
They shut him not down yet.
Her ladyship has not yet left her room. Miss Chiltern has just come back in from riding.
That's something.
Lord Caversham has been waiting some time for Sir Robert. I told his lordship you were here.
Thank you. Would you kindly tell him that I've gone?
I shall do so, my lord.
Really, I don't want to make my father 3 days running. It's a great deal too much excitement for any son. I hope to goodness he won't come up. Fathers should be neither seen nor heard as the only proper basis for family life. Mothers are different. Mothers are darling.
Elsa, what are you doing here? Wasting your time as usual, I suppose.
My dear father, when one pays a visit, it's for the purpose of wasting other people's time, not one's own.
Yeah, well, have you given any more thought to what I spoke to you about last night?
I have been thinking about nothing else.
Oh, well, engaged to be married yet?
Not yet, but I hope to be before lunchtime.
Well, you can have until supper time if it's of any convenience to you.
Thanks awfully, but I think I'd sooner be engaged before lunch.
I never know if you're being serious or not.
Neither do I, Father.
I suppose you've read the Times this morning.
The Times? Certainly not. I only read the Morning Post. Although one should know in modern life is where the duchesses are. Anything else is quite demoralizing.
Do you mean to tell me you haven't read the Times leading article on Robert Chiltern's career?
Oh, great heavens, no. What does it say?
Well, what should it say, sir? Everything complimentary. Chiltern's speech last night on this Argentine canal scheme was one of the finest pieces of oratory in the house since Canning.
Oh, never heard of Canning. Never wanted to. Did Chiltern uphold the scheme?
Uphold it, sir? How little you know him. No, he renounced it roundly, an entire system of modern political finance. This speech is the turning point in his career, as the Times points out. You should read the article, sir. It says, Sir Robert Chiltern, the brilliant orator, most rising of our young statesmen, where is it, unblemished career, well-known integrity of character, with noble contrast to the lax morality found so common in foreign politicians. Yeah, well, they'll never say that about you, sir, shall they?
I sincerely hope not, Father. However, I'm delighted, thoroughly delighted at what you tell me about Robert. It shows he has got pluck.
Oh, he's got more than pluck, sir. He's got genius.
I prefer pluck. It's not so common nowadays as geniuses.
I wish you would go into Parliament.
But dear Father, only people who look dull ever get into the House of Commons, and only people who are dull ever succeed there.
Why don't you want to do something useful with your life?
You are far too young.
No, I hate this affectation of youth. It's a great deal too prevalent nowadays.
Youth isn't an affectation. Youth is an art.
Why don't you propose to that pretty young Miss Chiltern?
I am of a very nervous disposition, especially in the morning.
No, I don't suppose there's any chance she'd accept you.
I don't know how the bad things stand today.
Well, if she were to accept you, she'd be the prettiest fool in all of England.
And that is just what I should like to marry. A thoroughly sensible wife who reduced me to a condition of absolute idiocy in less than 6 months.
I just wish you would do something useful with your life.
I cannot do anything useful because at the moment I am pretty engaged with something else.
No, always this affectation of youth again.
Good afternoon, Lord Caversham. I hope Lady Caversham is quite well.
Well, Lady Caversham is as usual, as usual.
Good morning, Miss Mabel.
Lady Caversham's bonnets, are they all better?
Well, I'm afraid they've had a serious relapse, I'm afraid to say.
Good morning, Miss Mabel.
Oh, I hope an operation will not be necessary.
Well, you know, if it is, we shall have to give Lady Caversham a narcotic. Otherwise, she should never consent to having a feather touch.
Good morning, Miss Mabel.
Oh, are you here? Of course you understand that after you breaking your appointment yesterday, I'm never going to speak to you again.
Oh, please don't say such a thing. You're the only person in the whole London that I really like to have to listen to me.
I'm afraid I never believe a single word either you or I say to each other.
You're quite right, my dear, quite right. At least as far as he is concerned, I mean.
Could you please make your son behave a little better on occasion, just for a change?
No, I'm afraid I have absolutely no influence at all over my son. I wish I had. If I had, I know what I should make him do.
I'm afraid he has one of those very weak natures that is not susceptible to influence.
Yes, he is heartless, very heartless.
It seems to me that I'm little in the way here.
It's very good of you to be in the way and to know what people say of you behind your back.
I don't at all like knowing what people say of me behind my back. It makes me half conceited.
Well, on that note, my dear, I'm afraid I must leave you. Bid you good morning.
I hope you're not going to leave me alone with Lord Goring, especially at such an early hour in the day.
Well, I'm afraid I can't take him with me to see the Prime Minister. It's not the Prime Minister's day to see the unemployed.
People who don't keep their appointments in the park are horrid, detestable. I'm glad you admit it. I wish you would look so pleased about it.
I can't help it. I always look pleased when I'm with
remain with you?
Of course it is.
Well, my duty is a thing I never do on principle. It always depresses me, so I'm afraid I must leave you.
Oh, please don't, Miss Mabel. I have something very particular to say to you.
Oh, is it a proposal?
Well, yes it is. I'm bound to say it is.
Oh, I'm so glad. That makes the second
The
today.
second today? What considered us as being pretty enough to propose to you before I had proposed to you?
Tommy Trafford, of course. It's one of Tommy's days for proposing. He always proposes on Tuesdays and Thursdays during the season.
Didn't accept him, I hope.
I make it a rule never to accept Tommy. That's why he goes on proposing, of course. Since you didn't show up yesterday, I very nearly said yes. Would have been an excellent lesson for both you and him if I had. Would have taught you both better manners.
Oh, bother Tommy Trafford. Tommy's a silly little ass. I love you.
I know. And you might have said it at some point. I think I've given you heaps of opportunities.
Mabel, be serious. Please, do be serious.
Oh, that is the sort of thing a man always says to a woman before he has been married. He never says it after.
Mabel, I have told you that I love you. Can't you love me a little in return?
Silly Arthur, if you knew anything about anything, which you don't, you would know that I adore you. It's a public scandal the way I adore you. I have been going about for the past 6 months telling the whole of society that I adore you. It's a wonder you have anything left to say to me. I have no character left at all, at least. I feel so happy I am quite sure I have no character left at all.
Oh, Tommy, you know what's awfully afraid of being refused.
You've never been refused by anyone, have you, Arthur? I can't imagine anyone refusing you. Oh!
I'm not really good enough for you, Mabel.
I'm so glad, darling. I thought you were.
And I'm a little over 30.
Dear, you look weeks younger than that.
It is only fair to tell you that I'm fearfully extravagant.
But so am I, Arthur, so we're sure to agree. Now, I must go and talk to Gertrude.
Must you really?
Yes.
Then tell her that I want to talk to her particularly. I've been waiting here all morning to see either her or Robert.
You mean to tell me you didn't come here expressly to propose to me?
No, that was a flash of genius.
Your first.
My last.
Thank you. Don't fall into any temptations while I'm away.
Dear Mabel, while you're away there, no, it makes me horribly dependent on you.
Good morning, dear. How pretty are you?
And how pale you are looking, Gertrude. It is most becoming. I'll be in the conservatory, and then the second palm tree to the left.
Second to the left.
Yes, the usual palm tree.
Dear children, I have a certain amount of very good news to tell you. Last night, Mrs. Shibley gave me up Robert's letter, and I burned it, so Robert is safe.
Safe? Oh, I'm so glad of that. What a good friend you are to him, to us.
There's only one person now that can be said to be in any danger.
Who's that?
Yourself.
I in danger? What do you mean?
Danger is too great a word. It is a word I should have not used. But I admit I have to tell you something that may distress you, that terribly distresses me. Last night you brought me a very beautiful womanly letter asking me for my help. You wrote to me as one of your oldest friends, one of your husband's oldest friends. Mrs. Shibley stole that letter from my room.
Well, what use is it to her? Why should she not have it?
Shutton, I will be quite frank with you. Mrs. Shibley puts a certain construction on that letter and proposes to send it to your husband.
But what construction could she put on it? Oh, not that. Not that. If I'm in trouble and wanting your help, trusting you, propose to come to you, that you may advise me, assist me, after really so horrible as that. She proposes to send it to my husband. Tell me what happened. Tell me all that happened.
Mrs. Shibley was concealed in a room adjoining my library, without my knowledge. I thought that the person who was waiting to see me was yourself. Robert came in unexpectedly. A chair or something fell in the room. He forced his way in and he discovered her. We had a terrible scene. And I still thought it was you. He left me in anger. At the end of everything, Mrs. Shibley got possession of your letter. She stole it. I know how. I don't know.
At what hour did this happen?
10:30. And now I propose that we tell Robert the whole thing at once.
You want me to tell Robert that the woman you expected last night was not Mrs. Shibley but myself? That it was by whom you thought was concealed in your room, in your house, at 10:30 at night? You want me to tell him that?
I think it would be better that he should know the exact truth.
No, I couldn't.
May I do it?
No.
Dear children, you are wrong.
No. The letter must be intercepted. That's all. But how can I do it? Let us arrive for him every moment of the day. I dare not ask the servants to bring me his letters. It would be impossible. Why don't you tell me what to do?
Privy come, Lady Shelter, and answer the questions I'm going to put to you. You said his secretary's opened his letters.
Yes.
Who's with him today? Mr. Trafford, isn't it?
No, Mr. Montfort, I think.
Can you trust him?
How do I know?
He would do something that you asked him, wouldn't he?
I think so.
He could recognize your letter without reading it, by the color.
I suppose so.
He's in the house now.
Yes.
Then I shall go and see him myself and tell him that a certain letter written on pink paper is to be forwarded to Robert Chiltern tonight. That at all costs must not reach him. Robert is coming upstairs with the letters in his hand. To be sure already.
You think his life would have picked up for mine?
I want you, I trust you, I'm coming to you, Gertrude. Oh, my love, is this true? Do you indeed want me and trust me? It should have been me coming to you rather than you writing of coming to me. Oh, Gertrude. You want me, Gertrude?
Yes.
Why did you not add that you love me?
Because I loved you.
When Montfort passed me your letter, I assumed he opened it by mistake, not recognizing the handwriting, and I read it. Oh, I did not care what disgrace might be in front of me, I only cared that you loved me still.
There is no disgrace in store for you, nor any public shame. Mrs. Sugar has handed over Lord Goring the document that was in her possession, and has destroyed it.
Are you sure of this?
Yes, he has just told me.
Oh, then I am safe! Oh, the wonderful feeling to be safe. For 2 days I've been in terror. I am safe now. How did Arthur destroy my letter? Tell me.
He burned it.
Oh, I wish I could have seen the one sin of my youth burned to white ash. How many men are there in modern life who would like to see the sins of their youth burned to ashes? Is Arthur still in the house?
Yes, he's in the conservatory.
I'm so glad I made this speech last night. So glad. I thought I was making it with public disgrace in my future. It was not so.
Public honor has been the result.
I think so. I fear so, almost. For although all the proof of my dishonor is destroyed, the last witness silenced, I suppose, Gertrude, I should retire from public life?
Oh, Robert, you should do that. It's your duty to do that.
It would be much to surrender.
No, it would be much to gain.
And you wouldn't mind living with me somewhere abroad or in the country, away from London, away from public life? You wouldn't have any regrets?
Oh, none, Robert.
And your ambition for me? You used to be ambitious for me.
My ambition? I have none now, but we two may love each other. It was your ambition that led you astray. Let us not talk about ambition.
Arthur, there's no way I could thank you enough for what you've done for me. I have no idea how could I ever repay you.
My dear fellow, I'll tell you at once. At the present moment, under the usual palm tree, in the conservatory,
Lord Caversham.
that admirable fellow of mine really makes a habit of turning out at the wrong moment. His very hardness will be very heartless indeed.
Good morning, Lady Chiltern. My warmest congratulations to you too, Chiltern, on that brilliant speech last night. I have just left the Prime Minister, and you are to have the vacant seat in the Cabinet.
A seat in the cabinet?
Yes, here's the Prime Minister's letter.
A seat in the cabinet?
Oh, certainly, sir, and well deserved too. You've got what we want so much in political life nowadays. High moral tone, high character, high principles, everything that you have not got, sir, and never will have.
I don't like principles, father. I prefer prejudices.
Lord Caversham, I'm afraid I cannot accept this offer. I have made up my mind to decline it.
Decline it, sir?
It is my intention to retire at once from public life.
Decline a seat in the Cabinet and retire from public life? I've never heard such damn nonsense in my entire life. I beg your pardon, Lady Chiltern. Chiltern, I beg your pardon. Don't think like that, sir. Lady Chiltern, you're a sensible woman, the most sensible woman I know, the most sensible woman in London. Will you kindly prevent your husband from making such a... from talking? Will you kindly do that, sir? Lady Chiltern.
I admire him for it. I admire him immensely for it. I've never admired him so much before.
You admire him?
I know.
You approve of it?
You will go and write a letter to the Prime Minister, won't you?
I suppose I best run it back once. I probably can't repeat it. Lord Caversham, you must excuse me for a moment.
May I come with you when I'm home?
Of course, Gertrude.
What is the matter with the family? Something wrong up here, eh? Idiocy, I suppose. And heredity too, wife as well as husband. Such is such a pity. They're not an old family either. I just can't understand it.
It is not idiocy, Father, I assure you.
Well, what is it then?
It's what's called nowadays a high moral tone, Father, yes.
I hate these newfangled names for things. Same thing we called idiocy 50 years ago. No, I can't stay in this house a moment
Well,
longer.
just go out there for a moment, Father. Second palm tree to the left.
What's
I beg your pardon, Father. There is someone in the conservatory I want you to talk to.
Well, what about, sir?
Not me, Father.
Well, not a subject on which much eloquence is possible.
No, Father, but the lady's like me. She doesn't care much for eloquence in others, and she thinks they're a little loud. Lady Chiltern. Why are you playing Mr. Shibley's cards?
I don't understand you.
Mrs. Shibley made an attempt to ruin your husband, either to drive him from public life or to make him a dishonorable position. From the latter tragedy you saved him, and the former you are now thrusting on him. Why should you do him the wrong Mrs. Shibley tried to do and failed?
But Corin.
Lady Chiltern, allow me. You wrote to me a letter yesterday where you asked me for my help, and now it is the moment you've got to trust me, in my counsel and judgment. You love Robert. Do you want to kill his love for you? What sort of existence will he have if you rob him of the fruits of his ambition, if you take him from the splendor of a great political career, if you condemn him to still a failure? He, who's made for triumph and success. Women are not meant to judge us, but to forgive us when we need forgiveness. Pardon, not punishment, is the mission. Why should you scourge him with rods for a sin done in his youth, before he knew you, and before he knew himself? A man's life is of more value than a woman's. It has larger issues, wider scope, greater ambition. It is upon lines of intellect that a man's life progresses, and a woman's life revolves in curves of emotion. Don't make any terrible mistake, dear children. A woman who can keep a man's love and love him in return has done all the world wants of women, or should want of them.
But it's my husband himself who wishes to retire from public life. He's the one who first thought so.
Rather than lose your love, Robert would do everything, work his whole career, as he is on the brink of doing now, is making for you a terrible sacrifice. Take my advice, lady children, and do not accept a sacrifice so great. If you do, you will live to repent it bitterly. Women and women are not meant to accept such sacrifices from each other. We're not worthy of them. And besides, Robert has been punished enough.
We have both been punished. I set him up too high.
Do not for that reason set him now down too low. If he has fallen from his altar, do not thrust him into the mire. Failure to him would be the very mire of shame. Power is his passion, and he would lose everything, even his power to feel love. Lady Chiltern, your husband's love is in your hands. Your husband's life is in a moment in your hands. Don't mark both for him.
Gertrude, here's the draft of my letter. Shall I read it to you?
Oh, let me see it.
What are you doing?
A man's life is of more value than a woman's. It has larger issues, wider scope, greater ambitions. Our lives revolve in curves of emotions. It is upon lines of intellect that a man's life progresses. And I just learned this as much as we did from Lord Corin. And I will not spoil your life for you, nor see you spoil it as a sacrifice to me. A useless sacrifice.
Gertrude.
Oh, you can forget. Men easily forget, and I forgive. That's how women have to work. I see that now.
Oh, my wife, my wife. After that, I'm afraid I'm going to forever remain in your debt.
Oh dear, no, Robert. Your debt is to Lady Chiltern, not to me.
I owe you much, Arthur. Do tell me what we're going to ask just as Lord Caversham entered.
Robert, you You are your sister's guardian, and I want your consent to my marriage with her. That is all.
I'm so glad.
Thank you, little children.
My sister to be your wife?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Arthur, but I'm afraid that's quite out of the question. I cannot trust you with Mabel's future happiness, and her future happiness is something I have to care for. I cannot have a sacrifice.
Sacrifice?
Yes. Pointlessly sacrificed. Loveless marriages are horrible. But there is something worse than a loveless marriage. A marriage in which there is love, but on one side only. Devotion, but on one side only. Faith, but on one side only, and where of the two hearts, one is sure to be broken.
I love Mabel. No other woman has any place in my life.
Robert, if they love each other, why should they not be married?
Arthur cannot give Mabel the love she deserves.
What reason have you for saying that?
Do you really require me to tell you?
Certainly I do.
As you wish. Yes, when I called on you yesterday evening, I have discovered Mrs. Shively concealed in your rooms. This was between the hours of 10 and 11 o'clock at night. I wish to say nothing more. Your intrigues with her, as I have said to you yesterday, have nothing whatsoever to do with me. I understand you were engaged to be married to her at some point in time. It would appear that the fascination she exercised upon you has returned. You have described her to me as a woman pure and stainless, one whom you've honoured and respected. That may be so. But I cannot entrust the future of my sister to someone with such an engagement.
I have nothing more to say.
Robert, it was not Mrs. Shively whom Lord Goring expected last night.
Who was it then?
It was your own wife, Robert. Yesterday afternoon, Lord Goring told me that if ever I was in trouble, I could come to him for help and advice, as he was our oldest and best friend. Later on, after that terrible scene in this room, I wrote to him telling him that I had need of him. I was coming to him for help and advice. Oh, he has that letter. I didn't go to Lord Goring's after all. I thought that it is from ourselves. Alone that help can come. Pride made me think that. Mrs. Shively went. She stole the letter and sent it anonymously to you. And you should think, oh Robert, I cannot tell you what she wished you to think.
What? Gertrude, have I really fallen so low in your eyes that you thought I could have doubted your goodness for even a moment? Gertrude, you are to me the white image of all that is good in the world, and sin can never touch you. Arthur, you may go to Mabel, and you have my best wishes. Oh, do stop a little. There is no name in the beginning of this letter. The brilliant Mrs. Shively appears to have missed that. There should be a name.
Let me write yours. It is you I trust in me.
Well, really, Lachette, I think I should have back my own letter.
No, you shall have Mabel.
Well, I hope she hasn't changed her mind. It's nearly 20 minutes since I saw her last.
Oh, Lord Goring, I find your father's conversation far more improving than yours. I'm only going to talk to Lord Caversham from now on, and always under the usual palm tree.
What does this mean, sir? You don't mean to tell me this charming, clever young lady has been so foolish as to accept you?
Certainly, Father, and Chiltern's been wise enough to accept the seat in the cabinet.
Excellent, delighted to hear that, Chiltern. You have a great future ahead of you. The whole country doesn't go to the dogs or the radicals. We shall have you Prime Minister someday.
Well, choice of the table, my lady.
Won't you stop for luncheon, Lord Caversham?
Yes, I'll be delighted to, my dear, and I'll drive you down to Downing Street afterwards, Chiltern. You have a great career ahead of you, unlike you, sir, whose career may have to be entirely domestic.
Yes, Father, I prefer it domestic.
And if you don't make of this young lady an ideal husband, then I shall cut you off with a shilling.
An ideal husband? Oh, I don't think I like the sound of that. Sounds like something out of Maxwell.
Oh, well, what would you like him to be, my dear?
He can be what he chooses. All I want is to be, a real wife to him.
Ah, well, upon my word, there's a great deal of common sense in that, Lady Chiltern, yes. Shall we?
Gertrude,
Love, and only love. For both of us, a new life is beginning.
Thanks I'd like to do for some of the people who are now up here, that were vital to the success of this production. So first I'd like to say thanks to Kaylin, Sven and Rutendo who did our makeup for the production. I'd like to thank Olivia for doing our photography and filming. For her incredible set design. Thank Lindsay, our PR and social officer, for doing our posters and sourcing these content. The hardest job of all, our two directors, Gus and Michael. Got you a wee something.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Say thank you for all your dedication, hard work. You also all signed this as well. Sure, nothing without an audience, so thank all of you for coming as well.